One of the most infuriating things about Season 2 of The Last of Us is how it had absolutely zero faith in the mental capacity of the viewers. One of the things that I absolutely adored about The Last of Us 2 is how it lets the player uncover parts of the story in real time with little to no explanation. It is the case in point of show don't tell. Very often, while coming across a cutscene in Last of Us 2, the meat and potatoes isn't what's being said out loud, but what isn't being said, and instead shown. I've said in previous videos that one of the most impressive ways that The Last of Us conveys emotion and the way people truly feel is through their eyes. Very often, you will have a character, or multiple characters, lying or hiding things from one another, and the only way to dissect what they truly mean is to pay attention to their eyes, physical movements, quirks, and mannerisms. Beyond the actual physical interactions between characters, one of the most interesting things that the game does is slowly but surely drip feed the story through gameplay instead of exposition dumping what's going on at all times. A great example of this is the character of Abby. When you start up the game and all of a sudden you are playing this random person, it's a bit strange. You're like, who the hell are you and why on earth am I playing you? Then, slowly but surely, if you're paying close attention, you'll realize that there is some tension between Abby, Joel, and Tommy. This is shown to the player through Abby's sporadic eye movements, cracking voice, and slightly uncomfortable physical movements. Then seemingly out of nowhere, Abby brutally murders the main character of Game 1 with a golf club, and regardless of your personal feelings regarding this moment, it's undeniable that this is an incredibly bold decision to make, and the developers really put a lot of faith in the audience that they wouldn't just freak out, never play the game again, and cut the disc in half. But this doesn't just end here. We then later play as Abby for over 6 hours, in which instead of getting a long and boring exposition dump about why she isn't actually a mustache-twirling villain, we get to play as her, engage in gameplay with her friends and people she cares about, and slowly but surely peel back the layers as to not only who this character is deep down, but why she also killed Joel in the first place. And this application of show don't tell is the foundation of The Last of Us 2. Even for many, to its detriment sometimes. A major criticism of the final confrontation between Ellie and Abby is that they don't talk, and if they did just talk, everything would be solved. But since the game is very much about showing and not telling in order to understand the relationship that Ellie has with Abby, you have to pay an unbelievable amount of attention to the non-verbal communication on screen. And this unbelievable amount of nonverbal communication makes the game incredibly immersive. You really have to give it your all in terms of paying attention, and I really do appreciate that. And what's actually hilarious is one of the main criticisms of The Last of Us 2 from many people is that it spells things out for you way too much. That it's constantly hitting you over the head with its themes, and that it doesn't let the player experience things on their own. And after the abysmal Last of Us Season 2, I sure do hope a lot of people are taking that criticism back, because man, The Last of Us Season 2 treats you like you have the mental capacity for understanding of a 9-year-old. It is genuinely so aggravating at times when they completely betray the story that the game was trying to tell. And you want to know when this first happens for the first time? The opening scene. The opening scene of The Last of Us Season 2 gives away the entire reveal about Abby and the Fireflies, completely shifting the tone and direction of the story. And I believe this happens because the writers didn't trust that specifically show-only viewers would handle Joel's death well if they didn't already see it coming. And 1, this tactic didn't even work since viewership dropped off anyways, and 2, why on earth would you betray the story that was being told and just flat out spoil some really important information before its time has come? Just absolute nonsense. Now the next thing that I want to talk about is a few scenes where the writers of Season 2 can't help but drop minutes upon minutes of exposition about the lesson for the story and what they want us to take away from it. The first time this happens is in this weird added council scene where this random guy stands up and blurts out that revenge is bad, that we aren't those kinds of people, that we need to let them go, and so on and so on. And when this was happening, I really did just stare at my TV, stunned by how on the nose they were being about how war is bad and this is what they really, really want us to take away from it. And somehow this isn't even the worst scene covering this exact same topic. Later in the season, we get this added scene where Isaac is torturing a Seraphite, and they have this really weird and awkward back and forth where they go, "You broke the peace. No, you did. No, you first. Only because you first, and only because you first." And I think the writers really thought they pulled something off with this scene, but personally, I found it laughably bad, and if I'm being quite honest, childish. Just another moment where the writers really, really needed to let the audience know what they were trying to say, and man, it would have been one thing to hit the nail on the head one time, but to do it 5 times in one scene, it's just beyond ridiculous. Now, I've only gone over added scenes so far, but now I want to go over what I feel to be the worst example of the TV show extending a scene past its runtime in the game, only to make it far worse. The scene where Ellie tells Dina about Nora in the game is very short, very simple, and very effective. It's a simple scene where Ellie expresses an unbelievable range of emotions regarding how she feels about the death of Nora. They barely say any words to one another, and there's just a lot of deep physical acting that layers the scene with nuance. The TV show does this very differently, however. It takes this short, simple, and effective scene and extends it by nearly double its length, adds a whole extra conversation that has nothing to do with what they should be talking about, and somehow, even though it's trying to say much more, it ends up meaning far less. It's as if the writers of the TV show just don't trust that the viewers can understand anything if it isn't physically spoken to us out loud. As if we're 9-year-olds who don't understand anything that isn't spoon-fed to us. And before this video ends, I want to go over one more scene really, really quickly. Did Dina really need to explain to Ellie how a map works? I'm still stuck on that, but I guess the show feels Ellie and the viewers are one and the same. Dumb as rocks. And just generally speaking, I couldn't believe the unbelievable exposition that was in this entire season. There was just so much talking at all times, and yet I can't remember one real conversation that they had because everything they were saying didn't actually mean anything. And this is only worsened by the fact that in the game, I feel like the characters barely speak to one another all that much, but they say so much while physically saying so few words. But yeah, with all that being said, thank you all for watching. If you made it to the end of this video, please let me know in the comments down below, not only what you thought about my video, but what you thought about the topic I'm covering. Again, thank you for watching. Please let me know what other kind of videos you want to see in the future, and hopefully I'll catch you in the next one. Peace.